Well, Ruby Franke's sister, Bonnie, has come out and done another video. This one is still up. The other one got deleted, talking about the situation with her sister. I watched this yesterday, but I'm going to go ahead and watch it again with you guys in real time, because I want to be able to comment on some things as I'm watching it, because I don't want to forget anything that was said. And when I watched it, I was on the way to my parents' house. I had my toddler in the car. It was a little bit of chaos. I'm going to watch this with you guys and give you guys my reaction and opinion to some of the things that were said. If you haven't seen it, you're going to have to let me know what your thoughts are down below, but we're going to go ahead and watch this together, you guys. So we're starting off strong with some of these comments from 12 minutes ago. You'd have a lot more credibility if this video were demonetized. Ruby Franke has been abusing her children for years, not just recently. I think it's ridiculous to pretend that you haven't noticed anything for years. There's obviously some people that are very supportive of this video. Before we continue with this video, I just would like to say that while I do have some criticisms towards the sisters for certain things, it doesn't mean that I'm putting the blame on them for what happened to the kids. I don't know what they did or didn't do. I'm just reacting to the videos that they put out and giving my opinion on them, and my opinion is just an opinion. Ultimately, I believe that the anger should be put towards Ruby, Jody, and Kevin, but I also think it's fair to question certain things with what we do know, which is the fact that it's been out there in video footage for so long that the children were being abused. Coming from that angle, it's hard to believe that none of the family members knew anything. It's hard to believe that everybody was as in the dark as they say they were. But also, with that being said, I do have empathy towards everyone in the family that is having a difficult time right now due to the actions of Ruby, Jody, and Kevin. Let's go ahead and get into it.
This feels like a very impossible video to make. I know that my words will be used against me.
They will. If you make videos on the internet, you can absolutely be guaranteed that your words will be used against you.
I also know that my words may help people understand me a little. I can only speak for myself, and I will only be speaking for myself, other than the judge has asked us not to speak on certain topics that I will not be touching on. What my family and I have gone through the last couple of weeks is the worst thing that has ever happened to us.
Like, I understand that when people, like with this whole thing, that the whole family is affected, but I'm a little bit put off by the fact that like at the very beginning of this, it's very focused on her, because there were children that were duct taped. There were children that were physically abused in unimaginable ways. And I also want to put this out there before I continue. There was a family member of the Frankes that did an interview. I showed a couple clips of that in one of my previous videos about the situation. And they said that basically in their family, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And in the Franke family, whoever this is, I believe it was a cousin, so it was a sibling of Ruby Franke's mom or dad. I'm not sure which side, but this cousin of Ruby Franke said that some of the things that they heard that happened to Russell Franke with the duct tape and all of that, that this was stuff that had been happening in their family prior to this. This is not new information. It was new information about Ruby in particular, but
it's hard to say anything without getting... I suppose I wasn't expecting some of the details in that story to line up with some of the details in my own family history, I guess is what I'm trying to say, quite as well as it did. Well, my mother handcuffed my sisters when they were young, and a lack of food wasn't uncommon, but it wasn't out of a lack necessarily of money. There was a time when it could have been prevented, but it wasn't. The lack of food, I mean, and the handcuffing, that happened to my family too with my own mother.
It's also interesting to note that Jody has a history of also doing this exact same thing. So a lot of people believe that Ruby learned how to do this from Jody, which is a very real possibility. But also I find it interesting that Ruby Franke's cousin came out and said that their mom was doing this before Ruby even met Jody. I don't know, you guys are gonna have to let me know what you think about that. I feel like to act completely clueless about anything that was going on just doesn't personally sit right with me, because there's other people like cousins that are like, this sounds familiar in our family.
I spent the first week in complete shock, where I felt my body and my mind and my emotions were completely paralyzed because of the just absolute shock of all of this. The more I learn, my feelings are turning more to anger. I am mad. I am mad at what has happened. I am beyond disgusted, and I feel like
Oh, y'all, she was just getting me with the emotions on that one, and then we got a mid-roll ad. She has a family to feed, I get it, but I don't know, guys. I do believe her that she didn't know about all of this. I don't believe that people in their family didn't know how Ruby was at all, though. You know, the severity of it, she probably didn't know. I mean, from when we watched the videos of 8 Passengers, we still didn't know that she would duct tape her own child. We all did see about the starvation, though. I will say that. So she can't act clueless about the starvation with the children, because that was in their videos. Unless she never watched one, which for me is hard to believe, because she followed in their footsteps and she has a family channel now. There are things in the videos that we all saw, right? How did people in their own family not see or know, when people on the internet have been blasting the Frankies for years for being abusive in these videos? But it's just a little bit weird when her own sister, her own family member, acts like she had no idea. I don't know. Let's continue.
It's truly unbelievable. Something that I pride myself on, something that I enjoy doing, is being transparent. And I cannot be fully transparent with certain aspects of this. And if you don't understand that, then you don't understand how the system works. The first thing that I want to say is that we have kept quiet for 3 years on the topic of our sister Ruby and Jody and Kevin and connections. That is what we have stayed quiet about. We did not know what—
I do understand how if they were like cut off from the family, that they wouldn't know the severity of the things that were going on
towards Ruby and Jody and Kevin and connections, is that it was all bullcrap. It was complete indoctrination of this thing that they created. I don't agree with how extreme they are on everything. I knew they were weird. I knew that they were off. Those are the things that we kept quiet about, because what was I gonna say? What was I going to do? I was not gonna come out and publicly say that I don't like—
You know, this is another one of those situations where it's just reminding me so much of Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell. If you guys have never heard of like all the details with Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell, you need to look into it. They had these weird beliefs that Chad Daybell created. He wrote these books. They believed some weird stuff. And those children ended up murdered. This could have went so much worse than it did, if you can imagine. But when Lori Vallow got involved in this weird cult with Chad Daybell and all that, that's when everything went south in her relationships. That's when she cut people off. When someone is weak emotionally and already abusive or already, you know, not a good person, and then they meet somebody like Jody, things can get even worse than they already are, if you guys can imagine. There is a history with Jody and splitting up marriages and breaking up families. Like, this is something that she does. And you can tell that she kind of just like clung on to Ruby. I do believe she had ulterior motives and is a very manipulative woman and saw someone that was easy to manipulate. They're a bad cocktail.
It wasn't until about a year ago when we were able to reconnect with Sherry. Again, we kept that quiet. We never came out and said anything. You guys saw us together, and those were little glimpses when Sherry was ready to allow us to show those glimpses with her permission. And it was then that we were learning slowly bits and pieces of more. And that's where the part of behind the scenes, we did everything that we could. We did everything legally that we could do. And for those that were saying that they'd go in and bust down doors and do whatever it took to end up in jail, because from
that I see where she's coming from. You can't just go in and bust down a door and all that. I don't know. Could you end up in jail though? Like if you busted down the door of someone who had children restrained? But I definitely would be doing something legally. She said they did everything they could legally, but I also thought she said that they didn't know anything that was going on with the kids. So I don't really know what that means. Like if you did everything you could, what does that mean with you also saying you didn't know what was going on with them? I don't know. Am I missing something here?
Stand by what I said is that I did everything that I could with the knowledge that I had and within the legal rights to Ruby and Kevin. The one person that could have done something within his legal right was Kevin.
People do want to point the finger and blame every single person who was around them. Like even myself questioning like, where was everyone else? Why did nobody else do anything? Because it's a natural reaction to have because there's so many people that's around these kids that you're like, why is nobody doing anything about it? That's just our natural thought process. But people do kind of get that mentality of like, we need someone else to blame. We need someone else to put our emotion and anger out towards.
It was Kevin's job to check in on things, and he did not. So when I say that Ruby and Kevin and Jody and connections have been destroying our lives offline for the last 3 years, that is exactly what they've been doing, causing turmoil within our family. We would talk in circles because nothing made sense. Nothing made sense of what they were saying, of what they were doing. And it was off the wall. We couldn't make sense of what, and this is where my anger comes in. Their actions have cast the worst light on me, on other members of our family.
Oh my God. 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 I got another mid-roll. As a YouTuber, you place mid-rolls in your videos. You go in and you place those. I've gotten 3 ads, 3 within 5 minutes on this video. That just doesn't sit right with me. Continue on with your content and put it in other videos, but in this one about your nieces and nephews, am I coming from this from, I'm really curious what you guys think about it because sometimes I have a different opinion than everybody else.
And I have decided that I am no longer allowing them to have any control over what I do. I didn't post because I physically couldn't. I physically could not turn my camera on. I physically could not come up with a structured thought in my mind. I felt completely out of my mind. This has hurt every single person in our family. And watching it hurt my husband makes me mad. I have stood by Joel's side, building our home, and it sounds incredibly selfish to, given all the facts, be thinking of our house. But also, I have watched him put his heart and soul and every waking minute for the last couple of years on this project, and I will not allow Ruby and Kevin and Jody and connections to take away one more thing.
My camera keeps overheating, so if the angle or lighting changed, that is why. So Bonnie goes on in this video to talk about how she needs to move on, this, that, and the other, which, you know, I agree with. There is a time when you need to move on. That makes sense to me. You got to continue on with your life. You have a family, but this just happened. This is new. Like, this isn't even a month ago. Are we really gonna try and move on that quick? Keep building your house, but why are you talking about that in this video? I'm not understanding that. She also says that there is only one person that could have done something, and that is Kevin Franke. I do disagree with that. So many people could have done something. There was full Reddit pages that was too trying to do something. People have called CPS from the internet, just from videos that they were watching. I'm gonna just choose to believe that they're not allowed to mention the children at all, because they don't mention them at all. And then I went and I watched her other sister Julie's video that she came out about it. So I'm probably comparing the two of them, and I'm looking at both of them as a whole instead of just Bonnie's and just Julie's. And when I look at the both of them, I'm like, they talk so much about just wanting to continue what they're doing, which is vlogging their family.
We are not going to let Ruby destroy another thing in our lives. We have our platforms where we try and bring brightness and positivity into other people's lives, and that is why we didn't talk about Ruby in our content for the past 3 years. Yeah, we try and show the highs and lows of everyday family and parenting, but Ruby's topic was not supposed to be part of that content. As far as my platforms go, I do want to continue them, but the content will probably look a little bit different. I have some pre-recorded videos before all of this fell apart that I will be posting.
If you're new on my channel, you may not know this. I do not like family vlogging channels. I think all of them are exploitive to their children because kids cannot consent to being on the internet. They don't know what they're getting themselves into. So I do not like family channels. I don't think everybody that starts a family channel does that with bad intentions, but I don't like them. I think they're exploitive to kids. I'm not a fan of them, and both of them have family channels, so we know how I feel about that. So her sister Julie did a video too. Julie's video is very short. It was 5 minutes long. She talks about how 3 years ago is when Ruby Franke got involved with Jody, and she said that she saw her, and then a few weeks later she just ghosted her, went completely silent on her, cut her off, didn't give her any explanation to why she did. But her mom got a phone call from Ruby where Ruby was basically tearing into her, yelling at her. Julie says that Ruby started making up her lies then, and there's no telling what she was yelling at her over. We did not get the details of that, but she cut the whole family off.
3 years ago, Ruby, everything was great. It seemed to be fine anyway. We were a typical family. She was getting some therapy counseling because their family needed it, which I think is great. However, I think you need to get it from a great source. Read the reviews. Jody Hildebrandt and her website or therapy style, I don't know what you want to call it, connections, was not a great resource, and we all saw it. We all felt weird about this Jody lady. We weren't comfortable with it. We didn't like it. We didn't like the teachings Ruby was bringing to the family functions, and we were this close to telling her, if you come to our family events anymore, we do not want to hear what you were learning through connections because we don't like it. We never did say that to her, but we thought it. Anyway, so 3 years ago, Ruby and I hung out bottling tomatoes, and then a few weeks later, crap hit the fan and she left the family. And she didn't even call me to say, hey, you know, Julie, you're doing this and this and I don't like it. You're living your life in distortion, so I'm gonna have to take some time away from you. No, literally nothing. She did call my mom and yelled at my mom on the phone for 45 minutes and accused her of things that were not true. It was almost as if Ruby had been making up memories from her childhood. She was trying to grab at anything she could, and she would exaggerate on everything. So she started all of her lies back then, lying to everyone in her life.
Then Julie goes on to say that that is when she got involved in Sherry's life again. Sherry being the oldest daughter of the Franke children. When she became an adult, her and Julie became really close. And she said that's when Sherry, you know, started opening up to her about things.
I was very fortunate to have been able to reach out to her daughter Sherry once she was an adult, and we were able to form a really close, strong relationship, which I am grateful for. And it was then that I learned more about Ruby, and it was then that Sherry had learned about lies that had been told to her.
Maybe I'm missing something here or misunderstanding certain things, but it's just confusing to me how I feel like I'm hearing them say they didn't know anything, and then also hearing them say, but we knew some things. Am I missing something? I think it's a very normal reaction for us to question why none of the other family members did anything, because they would be questioning the same thing if this was another family they were hearing about on the news. It's a very normal thing to question. You have all of these family members that are also posting on YouTube, and they're all trying to act like they're clueless to everything that was going on, but we all saw the same footage. I don't know. Maybe I'm gonna get tore up in the comments for my opinion about what the sisters said. I don't think they're at fault for what happened to the kids. If they knew things that were going on because they were in communication with Sherry, like, it just feels like there's holes in what everybody is saying. I just feel like there was too much that was filmed and posted on the internet for people to act clueless, especially the ones that were around the kids. Like, if people who didn't even know them were seeing things, how were people that were around them not seeing anything? And then also, I just can't stop thinking about that cousin that came out and said that there were things that were going on in this family that are similar to what they heard happen to Russell Franke. I can't stop thinking about that. I don't know, you guys. You're gonna have to let me know what you think in the comments down below. I feel like they just really want to get back to posting content, and it just comes off like that's their sole focus. And I understand they have families and stuff, but let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. If you want to see more videos about the Ruby Franke situation, do not forget to subscribe. That way you guys won't miss any of my updates on this. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys soon for another video.